4, 3, 2. Good afternoon and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Please call in and join the debate at 332-263-3300. That's 332-263-3300. And now, Mr. Davis.
Well, it's Wednesday, 6:30 again, and I'm pleased to uh, connect to my cherished listeners who are so brilliant and charming and contentious sometimes. One of the people that I raised part of that $3 billion for was a fellow named I forget it because he attacked me so badly last week. Brett Kingstone. I love him and I admire his brilliance and his energy. And even though we disagreed and debated somewhat, I still love him. And as a matter of fact, I keep saying that I love all of you, the ones that agree with me as well as the ones that disagree with me. In fact, sometimes the ones that disagree with me are even more uh, not loved, but appreciated by me, since when anybody disagrees and they make good arguments, I get a chance to reflect on what I believe and to learn something new, and so all of that helps. I don't intend for this to be a debate as I did with at my age, you forget who you are, with Brett Kingstone, um, but he sort of struck a sensitive artery because he took a view of gun ownership, and particularly AR-15s, assault weapons, so contrary to my own view that I got sort of a little PO'd, a little overexcited. But I intend for this uh, program to be a fun program and one that lifts everybody's mood. And I'm in favor of fun and happiness. And so I want to be able to provide that for you and to myself as well. So now I want to give you an inspiring lesson that I give to my grandchildren. I have a great number of grandchildren, thank God, and great-grandchildren. So anytime you have a goal and you get disappointed that you're failing or it's not working out, don't throw in the towel. Don't get discouraged. Just keep at it and focus. And ultimately, if you stay focused, it's like a drop of water on a rock. If it hits the same place over and over again, it splits the rock. It shatters the rock. If it goes all over the place, all over the rock, it doesn't do anything except maybe wet the rock. So my urgent message to you, is never give up and stay focused, neurotically focused in a sense, towards the goal of achieving your objective or your dream. So I'll tell you two stories, two anecdotes quickly that may inspire that action. Number one, they once asked a man walked up to Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, the electric light bulb, and asked he said, how come, Mr. Edison, you never gave up? You failed 1,000 times and you never gave up. That's unbelievable. So Thomas Edison said, who told you I failed 1,000 times? He said, well, it's common knowledge. Everybody knows you failed 1,000 times before you succeeded. He said, no, they got it wrong. I never said that. I never believed that. He said, I succeeded 1,000 times in learning what didn't work. And so on the 1,001 time, I got it to work. So that's the attitude you should have. Every time you fail, you're getting a little closer to your achieving your objective. The second one that's uplifting is a middle-aged man is walking on the street and he passes a schoolyard and he looks through the fence and they're playing a baseball game. So the kid in the outfield is right near where he's standing at the fence. He says to the kid in the outfield, what's the score? And the kid says, the score's 18-0. He says, 18-0, whose favor? He says, the team that's at bat. He said, 18-0. Why don't you give up? He said, what do you mean give up? We haven't been to bat yet. So that's optimism, and that's having faith in your own abilities to come back and get the result you're looking for. Now I want to tell you why I'm talking about oil and guns again, because they're such critically important and timely topics. They affect inflation, they reflect and influence our economy, they influence and a major factor in school children's lives, in the massive manslaughters that we're repeating regularly, almost daily, currently. And so I had to come back to guns again. It's so frightful and so horrendous that we tolerate the distribution of these slaughter, these, what should I refer to them? These weapons of mass destruction, these AR-15s that can shoot 600 bullets a minute, and unlike normal bullets, they contain bullets that explode like a bomb once they hit the individual's stomach. So much so that when they, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had the event in Buffalo where a young man attacked the church and killed a number of people with an assault weapon. They couldn't even identify the victims because they were so bloodied and torn to pieces. It explodes within one's body. So we got to deal with that. Every time there is a massive slaughter of human beings, we get all upset. We everybody, including the most anti-gun providers what am I looking for? Anti-gun control conservatives and Republicans and so many that are against having any control, insisting that the second guarantees the availability and the fairness of every American having a firearm, a weapon of not a weapon of mass destruction. It doesn't say that, but it says it says particularly and specifically a well-armed militia being being authorized to for every individual to bear a firearm. The interesting thing about that is it prefaced, it said a well-armed militia. It didn't say, as it could have said much more uh, clearly and specifically, that every human being, every citizen of the United States could own and purchase and be in possession of a firearm. But it prefaced it by saying a well-armed militia. Unfortunately, in my view, uh, what's his name, the great Supreme Court Justice Scalia, who was an originalist, who said, you know, you got to read it and interpret the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as they are written, took out the phrase, the preface, I think about maybe 15 years ago, that said a well-armed militia, and it now reads, you know, every American is entitled or is allowed or can own firearms. So here's an originalist who changed the whole meaning, because why would the founders preface it that with that? They didn't use extra words. So, and he was an originalist, a strong religionist influence. He had a big, major influence on Thomas, Supreme Court Thomas, judge, and likewise being an originalist. One of the arguments they have for the Republicans and conservatives and some of the religious leaders say that the reason we shouldn't have abortion, it should be outlawed, is because it's not specifically addressed and allowed in the Bill of Rights or anywhere in the Constitution. That's an originalist. They don't change anything. They interpret it just as it is, just as some people are fundamentalists and think the Bible should be interpreted word for word as it is. So when it says an eye for an eye, that if somebody does the kind of sin that we're talking about, we're inclined to think that they're violating the instructions, the directions of the Bible. And on oil, it's affected our life for so many people so devastatingly and so costly ever since 72, when the Middle East nations of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and all those nations took over the ownership of the oil fields in their countries, which were only producing oil because our American oil company taught them how to take it out, and as a result, they gave the oil ownership to the Exxon and Mobil and all the major oil company, British Petroleum, and those are the companies that went in and took the oil out of the ground and gave the countries a royalty for taking the oil out of the ground. Up to that time, a barrel of oil sold for $1 a barrel, and maybe the highest it ever reached before that was $2 a barrel. Now we have oil costing over $100 a barrel. It's outrageous. It's criminal. It's abusive, and we shouldn't let these countries get away with it, because I think it cost Saudi Arabia about $3 a barrel to take out of the ground, and they charge over $100 now, and only because we let them get away with it. We have a leadership. We have had a leadership that's just inept. You know, if these Middle Eastern countries and other countries that are part of OPEC, uh, the oil producing company that joined to collaborate to limit the supply or fix the price. In this country, they'd all be in jail. It's against the law. And this is a cartel that we've let exist and catered to for all these years since 71. And it's only because we've had the wimpiest, the most inept leadership, which we had to stop that cartel from functioning. Oil would never have reached more than $1 a barrel. As a matter of fact, in 1930, it was selling for 65 cents a barrel. And mostly within those years, it was selling at around $1 a barrel, all the way up to 1970, when those countries, the Middle East countries, and others took it over and formed OPEC. So it's been the biggest external tax in the history of the human race. As a matter of fact, it goes back way back to 2000, and even before that. I wrote an article that was printed in the Boston Globe Saturday edition, and it was entitled, "Enough is Enough, What the U.S. Can Do to Stop OPEC Extortion." And you can see the copy of the article. I'll put it on the internet for you if you care to read it and see the basis on which I wrote that article and why I thought it was so wrong for our leaders to tolerate it. Then I wrote one in 2008 that appeared in The Hill in Washington. And the title of that was "Puncture the Oil Bubble. It's Past Time to Act." That was a demand on the leaders of our countries to act and stop that oil blackmail. This is a copy of it, and I'll put it on the internet as well. And the latest one I wrote was on that subject was in April 2018, and it's called the energy crisis, an urgent call to our leaders to lead an inspiring energy crusade. And I'm going to put that on, and you can see if I have any basis or validity for the demand I'm making on our leaders and why we don't need to be subject to be paying that kind of price. My father in 1946 paid 31 cents a gallon of gas. 31 cents. Today it's up at $5, $4.65. I mean, it's just unbelievable that we let these countries extort us for this kind of extortion, crazy price. It should never have exceeded. It's been the most superabundant commodity in the world. When I was 10 years old, I read an article that said the oil companies claim we have only a 12-year supply of oil left. And ever since then, every 10 years, they say about the same thing. And each time they discover more vast wells that produce more than we need, far more than we need. I'll give you an instance of what the OPEC has done. A year ago, maybe 2 years ago, the demand slowed down during the pandemic. The economy slowed down, so the demand for oil slowed down dramatically. So the price of oil dropped from about, I think it was about $40 or something. It dropped to zero and even below. These countries paid anybody that would buy a barrel of oil, paid them $40 to take it. Why would they pay $40 to take it? Why didn't they just close their wells? Because when a country closes its well, there's a good chance, that often happens, that when they open it up again, they don't get the kind of recovery that they get formerly, or they can't recover anything. So they paid $40 a barrel. Instantly, OPEC, Saudi Arabia met with Russia, got Russia to, which is about the second or third largest producer of oil in the world, prior to the United States becoming the largest after it started getting the oil from fracking. But Russia was the second largest, and they initially they resisted joining OPEC, and then Saudi Arabia convinced them, and they set up OPEC Plus, and immediately cut the supply by about 10 or 12 million barrels a day. There's over 100 million barrels used every year by the world. That suddenly got the price to spike. It moved up from a net zero and below zero, they paid you to take it, to back to 20, 40, 50. And even before the Russian-Ukraine conflagration, the war between those two countries which prevented Russia from distributing all of its oil as before, the price hit about $70 from under zero, $70 a barrel. And then when the Russian war broke out, and Russia was delivering still less, and we begged, as we have in the past, we begged Saudi Arabia to induce OPEC to produce somewhat more. They said, no, let the market establish the price. The market hasn't been establishing the price way back to 1971. It's sinful that we tax our people so much money. It's one of the major causes of inflation. That and predictability, are putting tariffs on China, which I said in my earlier book, that if you introduce what they had on the mercantilism, when everybody wanted to have more gold was a precious thing that each country wanted to have more of. So they lowered their tariffs for exports. There were no tariffs, and they put tariffs on imports. So everybody, it was a zero-sum game, because every country in the world wanted more gold, and there's only a limited supply. So if one country got more, another country would have to settle for less. So it literally stopped all international trades, and led to a major inflation and a depression. Because what we got from China prior to the tariffs, we kept Walmart open, and Target and Home Depot and Max, what is it called? Max, TJ Maxx and Lowe's, all these and all the dollar stores that got all the products, almost all of their products from China, and helped the standard of living in this country rise immensely. And even though our employees weren't getting paid as much as they should, their quality of life and their standard of living was increased dramatically. So once Donald Trump decided he's going to put tariffs on on China, because they were getting too much of our money, didn't hurt our economy. They were spending the money back in the U.S. anyway. But immediately, I knew that we were going to suffer a major inflation. And it took more than a year, but it certainly has come to fruition. That and OPEC cartel. And what was my further thought on that? Trump said, look at all the money we're getting from the tariff. were getting billions and billions of dollars from the tariff. And what he didn't realize was the billions of dollars were coming from the American consumer. Because the minute we put the tariffs on China, they added it to the price of what they shipped to America. So it was ridiculous. We weren't getting money, but he made a big deal out of the money we were getting. So I guess he doesn't have an appreciation of understanding of economics. Are you saying something?
There's going to be a call in just a moment.
Yes. If we have any comments or call-ins that want to address what I've said so far, or any other views that you want to discuss with me, I'm wide open, and I'd like to hear from you. So we have to eliminate tariffs, and we have to put our strength back to the OPEC countries. If we have to do rationing, Americans are tremendous if you give them an assignment to make America stronger and to have us resist being extorted. I remember during the Second World War, we're so divisive today. I can only dream about our attitude during the Second World War, because we were so together. Everybody was together. We all made sacrifices. There was food rationing, meat rationing, sugar rationing, oil rationing, gasoline rationing. It was unbelievable, and we all were pleased to participate in those sacrifices. And for the first time, women went back to work to help out, produce the defense equipment that we needed. It shows you that if you appeal to the American people and they understand what you're trying to do, if we said we got to stop OPEC from raping us, they would stand up and we'd say we're going to cut the usage by 10% or 20%. I'm going to interrupt my monologue and take a call from Tommy. Tommy, you're on.
Yeah, off the couch.
Pardon me? Tommy, what did you say?
Hello?
Yes, Tommy. What's your last name?
McCluskey.
McCuskey. Okay, Tommy McCuskey. How
How are you?
I'm great. I hear your voice. I'm even better.
I'm loving the hat, Morty. Reminds me of Captain Jack. Remember
Thank
Captain
you.
Jack?
Someday I'll tell you the story of why I wear this cap. But right now I won't take the time. Go ahead. I won't take your time.
Okay, well, I would love to hear the story.
After you hang up, I'll tell the story.
Well, you got me oil and guns. I mean, it's...
Okay, you want to hear the story? You want to hear the story now? I'll tell it to you real quickly.
Okay, sure.
I used to have a boat, a ship, right? And
Okay.
and because I had a ship, I thought I should appoint myself as captain. So I made myself captain of the ship, and I kept it on for a long time. And then my ship sunk in the bathtub. It was a little ship, a little boat. So it sunk in the bathtub. But once I was wearing this hat, it was so popular. It helped me a lot. I got one time I was flirting with a beautiful waitress in King David in Israel, and she saw the hat on. She said, "Were you in the military?" I was in the Air Force, in the Israeli Air Force, and I felt like I better say something that I did something good. So I said, "Yeah, I was in the Air Force during the Korean War." So she said, "Oh, great." Then she started cross-examining me. Finally, she asked me, "What kind of plane did you fly?" I haven't the slightest idea of any military planes. So I told her, really, it was too traumatic, the whole experience. I can't talk about it. So she accepted that. But every day after that, she gave me free desserts and took better care of me than I've ever been taken care of before. And she even liked me. She almost asked me out for a date. So I never took off and when I'm in the airport,
course.
people step aside. A little kid says to his mother, "Would you ask the captain if the plane is ready yet or something?" You know. Anyway, that's the story.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
And don't ever take it off.
It's a true story because I had a real boat in my bathtub. I wasn't lying. Yeah.
You earned it. You're right to it. So gas, it seems like, as far as I've been following many, many years now, we've been told by people of science that oil is finite. And, I think you're someone that kind of follows science. And, we're going to run out of this. Or unless we go, I guess maybe we're going to get to Mars.
Yeah. It's Tommy. It's the same scientists that were hired by the tobacco company that were swearing to us that cigarettes are not harmful, even while their own kids were smoking the cigarettes and they knew they were being cancerized.
Yeah, but I think the majority of scientists are on the page of like, we're going to run out of it and we need to go to off. Worse than we are, but we've known about this for how long now, and our backs are against the wall now.
We have more oil,
dependent.
Tommy. We have more oil today that we know of than we had when we started using oil in 1900 or shortly before that. When Rocca got rich selling oil for 67 cents and $1. For years, they were making a fortune selling it $1. So.
Okay, all right. Well,
but let me reassure you, there's no way we're running out for the next 50
we're not
years.
running out with okay, we're not going to run out of the guns either, it seems. But I just want to ask you this: should we cut back on the tax? Can states do this? Cut the taxes on oil, on the gas?
Yeah, we could, but it makes an infinitesimal difference compared to what the OPEC does. The OPEC has moved the thing from zero to $70 before the Russians. I don't want to say, because now they're all attributing it to the Ukraine-Russian war conflict.
Right.
But it went up from zero to $70. It was hitting close to new highs even before Russia. So, yeah, we could take off the oil, and Biden has agreed to even release 1 million barrels a day from our reserve. But it makes no dent and we beg them, we ask them, we plead with them. They're our great allies. Raise it $500,000. They agreed to 500,000 barrels. They agreed to raise it. What was the amount they agreed to raise it to? Like 400,000 barrels a month. I think up to 1,200,000 barrels or something. And they haven't even kept that up. They said let the market. They keep saying let the market determine the price. And I wish they would do that, because if they left it to the market competitive, as I wrote in one article here, I said we should say we won't buy even 1 barrel of oil from any country that colludes to fix the supply, to lower the supply, and fix the price, which they do. And say, people would say, what do you mean we won't buy a barrel? Well, every other product in the world, people spend money advertising for us to buy it from them. And here they're doing this under the gun, because it's an inelastic, economists call it an inelastic demand product. We need it badly. We can't do without it. So once they cut it, we have no option but to buy it or to refrain from buying it. But we complain about kids being addicted to drugs, and we're the most addicted of anyone or any society to oil.
Yeah, we are. We are addicted to oil, and we're dependent on our dealer.
Yeah.
And they're taking advantage of our addiction.
And the American companies, incidentally, are joining the collusion. They're not fighting OPEC. They're not giving it to us. that it costs American companies maybe $15 a barrel to take out of the ground, whatever, $20 a barrel, and now they're getting $110 or $120. It's unbelievable. So the American companies are joining in the extortion and the rape.
Right. Well, I think the greatest revenge would be not to be dependent on this, and I think you're open to alternative sources.
What do you mean I'm open? I'm saying we should have a crash program like we had with the Manhattan Project, where we wanted to beat the Germans to the atomic bomb, and we did, and we didn't spare any effort, any money, any personnel. We gave money to every university, to every research center. We gave tons of money to MIT, and we beat them. And it was the same with when the Russians shot up Sputnik. They laughed at us because they got a man into space, and we were sending up the size of oranges into space. Right. And the Russians, we said we're going to beat the Russians to space, and the Russians laughed at us and said, "Yeah, you'll beat us into space when you design a man that's the size of an orange." That was, right. And we did it because we didn't spare anything. It was a crusade. Everybody joined, MIT, Harvard, every university, every major corporation, whoever had any knowledge or experience, and we beat them.
Right.
So if we made up our mind, but always the answer generally is, oh, we have to drill, baby, drill. Because that's where the money is. America has become instead of capitalism that works on reasonable self-interest, it's become overwhelmed by the greed and desire and profitability rules everything. So the oil companies, oil companies undermine. They're the biggest contributors or the second biggest lobbyists of all in Washington. So the legislatures follow their donors. They don't follow what the majority wants. The majority of Americans are really so positive. They want gun control. They want all kind of reasonable things, and we can't get it because
they're not hearing that.
No, because what do you call it says to the NRA says to everybody that supports gun control, even though they don't like to say that, but they do say it. Anybody supports gun control, we're going to primary them. So clearly, everybody's so selfish. Our legislatures, our elected officials, care more about getting reelected than they do care about the lives that are lost. They claim they care about lives and they want to cut out abortion, but once the children are brought into their favor of birth, not lives, because once the kids are brought into the world, they don't provide any of the things for the poorest families. They don't have automatic universal health care for those kids. And then when they go to schools and they're in schoolrooms, their lives aren't important anymore because it's more important to sell guns and especially assault weapons.
Right. Yeah, it's I don't feel very hopeful at the moment, but
yeah, we're a very divisive country. Democracy's in jeopardy, really. Because democracy, they're supposed to reflect the will of the electorate. If they would vote the will of the electorate, there would be all kind of gun controls. Because overwhelmingly, even amongst the Republicans,
it's about 80% of the population.
Yeah, 80 to 90% of the population is for universal background checks, and 60% of Republicans are. And still, we can't get it passed. Mitch McConnell won't. Mitch McConnell said, "Well, we're working on it. We're going to do more. What is it called? Mental health. Mental health. Every other country in the world has mental health issues, same as we do, but they don't have the killings that we have regularly. We had 245 multiple slaughters so far this year. That's more than one a day. And then he said also we need to make the schools stronger, put up more plates and more guards and more. They want to turn the kids going to school into like a fortresses, and give teachers guns. That's so outrageous. And interestingly, in Buffalo, they had a bunch of guards there, and they killed all those people in the church. And you what is it? Uvalde, in Uvalde, they had the guards, and that's nonsense. You can't turn a school into an armed fortress.
No. All they're going to do is lose teachers. No one's going to want to do that job.
Right. And a lot of wealthy people are taking their kids out of school and homeschooling them, getting them tutors at home. The wealthy people always manage, remember.
Yeah. Well, Captain, thank you.
Okay, General.
I love your show.
General Tommy, and I'm going to post these on for you if you care to read them. My view on the crisis. And what you said is absolutely true. Desirable, essential, necessary, urgent. And that is to alternative for that poisonous fossil fuel that gives people asthma and cancer and every kind of thing, and jeopardizes our whole existence on Earth. If you believe what real,
I do. I think it's evident.
It claims
Proven to be true.
the claimed scientists those not hired by the oil company or maybe some of the Republicans. They say we're in jeopardy if we don't move fast. Well, look, let me tell you this. I care so much about my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, all of which I have many. So even if they're wrong, even if those guys are right, there's no existential, that's a tough word, existential risk to the world for human beings being on Earth.
Right.
I would spend that money because I don't want even a 10% chance that they can live a decent life and in good health. So I'd rather throw out the money for that than a lot of other things. Okay, the number to call, thank you so much, Tommy. If you want to get through, if you want to encourage your friends to call into it. It's a new show and very few people know about it so far.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And call again, please.
Thank you, Morty. I will do.
God bless you. The number to call is 332-263-3300. 332-263-3300. And Brett, if you want to call in again, Brett Kingstone, I love you and I'll treat you better this time. Anyway, so let me get back to my harassing my listeners. You're so nice to tune in and tolerate me, and I try to make it fun and less depressing. But these are important subjects. I had planned to talk about defense spending and defense activities by our country this week, but I felt guns and the impact that oil is having on inflation was so important, and everybody sees what, sometimes you don't see what's causing inflation, but every time you and I go to fill up our tanks, we're shocked. I applied for a loan from the bank. As soon as it comes through, I'm gonna fill up my tank of oil, of gas. So I canceled the defense and I canceled the discussion program on inflation. But I want to inform my listeners that you can call on any subject that you choose to. You're not limited to what the monologue that I start off with. So please call and tell your friends to call. and you'll get wisdom. The program is called The Voice of Wisdom by Morty Davis. I used to do a program on radio called The Voice of Wisdom for many years, for a number of years anyway, on WEVB in New York. And that station was then sold to Bloomberg. It's now Bloomberg Radio. And so we stopped doing that program. But I started doing it myself. My wife came along to support me. She gave me coffee. She brought me whatever I needed. And she was my errand girl. And then one time, after she came about 3 months, she said, "I'm not going to be just your errand girl. I'm going to open my mouth." So she started talk. I never got a word in edgewise after that. And she said, and we called it Morty Davis, the voice of wisdom, and Rosalind Davis, the voice of real wisdom. So she was great. I loved her. She passed away just about a year ago. It's going to be the anniversary in about a month. She was the greatest human being I've ever met, the most generous, the most helpful to everybody in the world. And so I wish she was here to be the real or the better voice of wisdom. Ellen is on. Ellen, what's your story? What's up? What do you want to talk about? Ellen? I guess Ellen got tired of waiting.
She's there.
She's there. Ellen, are you still there?
Okay, one second. We need to, somehow you're not in the room. Just give me 1 second. There.
Hello.
Ellen?
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We remember when you were the voice of wisdom together with the real voice of wisdom. But you still have a lot of wisdom to share. And whether it's a topic that seems controversial or not, you seem to bring a lot of knowledge and a lot of passion, which is to be admired. You spoke about things like gun control and oil. And I'm sure you have ideas that would improve society or improve the economy or whatever. So why don't you say some of your ideas that we could implement perhaps? And also, I don't understand if people want to make it a better world, why they can't. You're giving them the right ideas. What's holding back the politicians or the people? And what would you be your first, if you were the president, or if you were, what would be your priority?
If I was the president, the first thing I'd do is resign. It's too much of a challenge. The first thing I would do is some of the things I talked about, and I'd stop being, I'd have a different goal. I'd have a goal not to be the most, the Bill of Rights says the instruction to us, the direction to us. What's the stronger word than direction?
A mandate, perhaps.
The demand of us was to make this a better, more perfect country, and to provide all of our citizens, all of our inhabitants, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's turned out to be, we try to do that. I'm not so sure about life because apparently they don't care so much about the kids in school that get slaughtered, or others, innocent people that get slaughtered in church or in every kind of milieu. So life, we seem to try to protect, and that's one of the main duties of government is to keep its people safe. Then liberty, I think we have liberty, although sometimes it's questionable. Right now, they're trying to eliminate the liberty for women, the freedom for women to get abortions, even to get a doctor to help them deal with a miscarriage. The doctor and the patient and anybody that helps them will go to jail, according to
But liberty, on the other hand, I think there might be not disruption, but there must be too much liberty. People just do what they want, regardless of other people's feelings. So the abortion issue is a narrow issue and people get very upset about it, and there's definitely medical and physical and psychological concerns, emotional. But I'm talking about maybe there's too much liberty.
Ellen,
People in this sense don't respect each other's,
Uh,
and happiness. I know you wrote a book on it. What's the name of your book on happiness?
it's a relatively new book. Happiness Guaranteed. Happiness Guaranteed. I should bring it out, show it. You got a copy of it handy? Hand it to me. Happiness Guaranteed or Your Misery Back. It's 365 days of advice and humor on how to get happy and how to be happy.
Can you just tell us in a nutshell? 'Cause
Yeah,
I know the program is
you
going
can,
on.
can you see it?
Listen more, but
Ellen, can you see a copy of the book? I'm holding it up.
let's see. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll show you another. I'll show you another book that I wrote before that. It's called. It's about autobiography and advice on how to get rich, how to in the stock market, and it's called From Hard Knocks to Hot Stocks. That's about my biography, my life.
Wow.
And I don't know if you can see it, but what it says on the back, the endorsements are by Larry King, who writes, but I gotta get my glasses on, who writes this book. This is the best book I've ever read on making it big. You're in the hands of a master. Enjoy. Then Donald Trump wrote the following. Morty Davis has written a chronicle of great triumphs. It is full of intriguing speculation and clear insights, provocative, challenging, and enlightening, and written by a unique man who knows the score. A must read. It's from Donald Trump. So
I guess
those of you who are those of you who are avid followers of Donald Trump, he finishes with an exclamation mark. A must read. So you better read it. And then they wrote Carl Icahn, who's one of the most effective stock market traders and leaders, and he wrote, there is much to be learned from this Morty Davis story. Oh no, that was by John Westergaard. Oh yeah, no, that's by John Westergaard. But that's by Carl Icahn. John Westergaard wrote, and from hard knocks to hot stocks, Morty Davis shows you a surefire way to make a fortune in the stock market. Anyway, I won't bore you with any more of that. But I wanted to tell you.
You tend to be too humble. You know, for us, I know one of the books, I even think that Trump took the title of his book, Making America Great Again, from another book he wrote, Making America Work Again.
Yeah, the first book I wrote that got praised, I think the appraisal and the speech by Ronald Reagan, he loved the book, Making America Work Again. I wrote that right after Jimmy Carter was leaving the presidency, and everything was, we had stagflation, everything was pretty terrible. We had wild inflation and depression a recession at the same time. So I wrote a book called Making America Work Again, how to revive the tragic situation we were in. Anyway, I wanted to address your point about abortion being controversial. It is abortion. It is controversial. However, I would love it if they said, yeah, we're against abortion, but if the baby gets born, they're just pro-birth. Because once the baby gets born, they don't give a damn. And if they're going to school and they don't care if the people are coming, mad men are coming around or I don't understand what kind of men are coming around. Never women, incidentally. Madmen are coming around and shooting up little kids, 10-year-old kids in Connecticut and recently in Uvalde, Uvalde, and you know, and they're brought up with parents that can't take care of them. You know, if some of these you know most adamant people against against abortion, some of the most you know fanatic people against abortion would care as much after they're born and for the kids and the lives of the kids in the classrooms every single day, then I would understand that they're truly in you know for life, but they're not for life; they're for birth. And if some of them hate the ones that are doing it, that are doing this, that are doing the abortions, having the abortions, some of these people hate those people so much they would be for compulsory abortions amongst immigrants, amongst African Americans, against Hispanics. They're just, you know, active shooter, an active shooter. What's her name? Tulsa Medical Center now. Okay. Hello? Tulsa Medical Center.
Right now, there's one of these things that's happening.
Right now?
Right now.
Today?
Right now.
Where at? In
In
Tulsa,
Tulsa.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, at a medical center in Tulsa.
At a medical center, I'm told you got the scoop right here. A medical center in Tulsa, Oklahoma is being attacked by how many people were shot?
I'll get you more.
Right. We're
You
just
know what? That's just your point. They care about the unborn baby, and then when the baby's born, a human life is so meaningless. Basically, we're passionate about principles, but they don't care about people.
right.
And I got to talk to you. I want to give other people a turn. And thank you so much for coming back and being on this show. We really appreciate it.
I finally made one person happy. Thank you, Ellen. And on that score, I wanted to add, and the last word in that phrase is happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Sadly, we're the wealthiest country, not sadly that we're the wealthiest, but sadly, in spite of the fact that the wealthiest country in the world, we have almost everything we need and want, we come out way down on the happiness scale that that a world organization does every year. The United States, I mean, I doubt that you can guess, if I ask you to guess which countries are the happiest, but the United States is number 16. And even Israel is in the top 10, it's the 10th. The ones that are the happiest are Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, and anyway, you get the picture. They're not the richest, but they're the happiest because they're provided. They're not the wealthiest, but they provide almost everything you need in life, and they're not competitive to be the richest. So they get universal health care for everybody. They get free college tuition. They get all the necessities. People that are in poverty get adequate support. But of course, our people here call it they vilify the word. They call it socialism or communism. You know, that's nonsense. If some country has a good idea, let's imitate them. The Chinese are smart enough to do that. They're supposedly a communist country. The Communist Party runs the country. And yet it's sure Karl Marx would turn over in his grave if he saw what China is as a communist country. Because they have more billionaires in China than we have in the United States. So it's not from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Nobody was allowed to get rich in a communist country. So when some country has a good idea, we should. So far on the bulletin, there's at least 4 dead and multiple people shot in a medical center. Another place that's very dangerous. We have to shoot them down. People in a medical center. Damn it! We have to stop this. We have to get Mitch McConnell either to support something like this or get him out of there. Gun violence will continue, and gun dependence will continue until a majority can overrule the minority that's in the Senate and the Congress. In the vote, in the democracy, it's so overwhelming in favor that it would be passed in a minute. So I don't understand what kind of democracy we have. It's going downhill. It's becoming less of a democracy than ever before. And there even some states are trying to take away votes from people that vote by making it more difficult. I think we're approaching 7:30, and I'll take one more call, or if somebody wishes to call, or otherwise it's time to end.
You don't have anybody else.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week. I love you all. Bye-bye.